Hello grade 8, how are you today? I hope you all are safe and well. Today we will talk about using reactions to identify chemicals. How can we identify chemicals by using reactions? So according to the colors or according to the mixture or what exactly that we can see to identify these chemicals. Open your books on page 140, grab your highlighters and follow me please. Flame test. We can use flame, okay, to identify some chemicals. By the color of the flame, we can identify them. Of course, we can have a secondary source to look at these colors of these flames or the colors of the flames to identify these chemicals. So, flame tests. It's festival time. Fireworks light up the sky. How do scientists give fireworks their colors? Firework colors come from burning reactions of metal compounds. Different metal give different colored flames. We said the burning reaction, we call it combustion reaction, that release heat to the surroundings. So here scientists, they can make the fireworks colors using burning reactions of metal compounds, because each metal, when it's burned, it gives specific color. So they have different colors. They can use them to make the fireworks. You can use flame test to help identify metal atoms in compounds. So how can we use this, or how can we use the flame test? First, we need to take a clean nichrome wire. So what is this nichrome wire? Nichrome wire is an alloy that made from nickel and chromium, a substance called chromium. And it can resist heat and oxidation, oxygen. The oxygen cannot join to it. And also it serves as a heating element in products like the hair dryers and toasters. They're using it inside it to for heating, like to make this product give heat, and this can, because it can resist heat. And also they can use it in sculpture or glass making. So this is the chromium wire. Here we have also second step is we need to dip the end of the wire in the compound you are testing. So if we have unknown compound or anomalous compound, we don't know what is it, we need to dip the end of it, like put the end of the of this wire inside the compound and take it out. Then we need to hold the end of the wire in a hot flame. As you can see here, this is the chromium wire, and they are holding it with a device here, or a clamp, or tweezers. And then we can use it in a flame. We can just put the end of it in the flame. Here, as you can see, the fire is blue, but just a second, let me show you. This is the beginning of the fire, the flame. It's blue, and then when they came with this, or when they hold the end of the wire in the hot flame, it started to be green. The flame turned into green. Observe the flame color. As we can see here, it's a green flame. So here we can use a secondary source like a data book or the internet to check the colors. The pictures show the flame colors made by compounds of different metals. If the flame is red, so that means it's lithium. Lithium compounds give crimson flame. Crimson flame is something like red. This is crimson flame. If it's sodium compound, that means it will give us yellow flame. If it's potassium compounds, it will give us lilac flame because the color is like the lilac flower. And here, if it's calcium compound, it will give us red flame. If it's barium compounds, it will give us green flame. So here we have metal hydroxide colors. So what is the metal hydroxide colors? We said about these flames, these are the metal compounds. So what about the metal hydroxide? This is another compound, but specially hydroxide. Flame tests identify some metal in compounds, but not all. You can test with sodium hydroxide to identify some different metal in compounds. So here, we need to use sodium hydroxide to identify some metals in compounds, because not all the metal compounds that can be tested using the flame. So here we need to dissolve a small amount of the compound in a pure water, and then we need to add a few drops of sodium hydroxide solution to this compound, and we need to write down our observations, what color we can see. You might see the precipitate forms. So what is the precipitate? Precipitate is a layer of solid matter that could form in the test tube, or could form in the solution. So this is the definition of the precipitate. Precipitate is a suspension of tiny solid particles in a liquid or solution. So this is the definition. The precipitate is a suspension of tiny solid particles in a liquid or solution. In this test, the precipitates are metal hydroxides. Different metal ions make precipitates of different colors. So here, if we saw a precipitate in the forms in the test tube, that means it's a metal hydroxide, like sodium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. But different metal ions can make different colors, of like different precipitates colors. So what are these colors? Let's see together in the next page. As you can see in this picture, we have different colors of precipitates. So you can, if you just take a closer look over this here test tube and this one, you can see this is the liquid part, and we have like something solid, like some solids inside it, like a powder, or like something is forming inside. This is precipitate. And here you can see here the precipitation of this compound also. Some metals forms colored precipitates when they react with sodium hydroxide. Here are from left to right, from here to here. We have iron hydroxide, which is iron 2 hydroxide, or iron 3 hydroxide, and you need to refocus because these iron 2 and iron 3 hydroxide are totally different compounds. They are not just like iron hydroxide, because we have two forms of iron. And here we have copper hydroxide and nickel hydroxide. So from the left to right, we have iron 2 hydroxide, iron 3 hydroxide, copper hydroxide, and we have nickel hydroxide. Iron forms 2 hydroxide. We have iron 2 is green, which is this one, and iron 3 is brown, which is this one. We have here in this picture a white precipitate, which is precipitate of aluminium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, and magnesium hydroxide. The three of them, they can form white precipitate, but they are not in the same test tube. You can use word equations to summarize reactions that make precipitates. The equation below shows how to make precipitate of copper hydroxide. We have here copper chloride plus sodium hydroxide, because we said that this is reaction of sodium hydroxide and another compound, element compound. So we have copper chloride sodium hydroxide, and this can gives us copper hydroxide plus sodium chloride, which is the salt. In the equation above here, where are the reactants? As we mentioned earlier before, these are the reactants on the left of the arrow. Here are the reactants, which is on the right of the arrow. So here, the reactants, copper chloride and sodium chloride, these are solutions. And one product, which is sodium chloride, this is solution, and we have one product, copper hydroxide, is solid because it forms as blue precipitate, as we have here in this picture. This is the copper hydroxide precipitate. A student writes equations for 3 more reactions that make precipitates. Use the equations to answer question 3 below. We have here iron 2 nitrate plus sodium hydroxide to give us iron 2 hydroxide plus sodium nitrate. And we have iron 3 chloride plus sodium hydroxide give us iron 3 hydroxide plus sodium chloride. The last one is aluminium chloride plus sodium hydroxide gives us aluminium hydroxide plus sodium chloride. As you can see here, in these two reactions, okay, number 1, 2, and 3, both the products we can get sodium chloride, which is the salt that we eat. And here we can get sodium chloride as a solution, but here both of these products are precipitates, which is the solid material. So now let's go to the summary of the lesson and see what do we have. Using reactions to identify chemicals. Flame tests help identify metal atoms in compounds. Sodium hydroxide react with some salts to form colored precipitates. We have here the flame tests colors: lithium compounds crimson, sodium compounds yellow, potassium compounds lilac, calcium compounds red, and barium compounds green. So this was all about using reactions to identify chemicals. I hope you understood the lesson. Don't forget to write these notes in your notebooks, and don't forget the yellow box. And if you have any question, write it down and we will discuss it later. See you soon, and we will meet in a new lesson. Bye bye.